Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and today we're going to be talking about just a whole lot of things that have happened while I've been gone, and we're going to be doing that over some PvP. So hey, let's fight this Sephiroth. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so I'm going to try not to comment too much on the PvP. I do have my Edward reincarnated a time or two. I managed to get that done in only a couple of days, which was pretty impressive. And I still have a ton of coins. I'm going to do a couple more pulls for Alphonse, and then I may just spend the coins on Edward. I am nowhere near pity and out of biz, but Edward is working out pretty well. Now, I do have a full 140 wind strike, well, not wind strike team, but mostly wind strike team. And they're doing pretty good, but I'm going to... I have a few things that I have planned for future videos, so let me know what you think about those. We'll get those out of the way first. I am going to do some mocks in Guild Battle. There is going to be a mock video going into free play that's going to be releasing today, or at least the day I'm recording this. And that is going to be probably released in a couple of weeks when the Guild Battle map changes out, so that you're not getting any... not getting a competitive advantage on what I'm running for my guild. Also, there's going to be arena testing with Sephiroth, testing various compositions, but really trying to figure out what equipment works best and when. I think that one easy answer is that Moogle Cloak is probably the best all-around piece of gear for Sephiroth on defense, but I think that there's going to be a lot of things that are potentially better situationally on offense as well. And I'm also going to be arena testing 140s. I have several accounts. I certainly have enough prismatic antlers, and I've certainly been saving for enough different units that it's been really easy for me to 140 way more units than I can actually test. So I am going to take some time to test each one of those out and kind of see how their improvements actually functionally help them, even though they haven't been reincarnated a ton of times. So that's the stuff that I look to get to you in the future. And some of those things are probably going to take a bit more editing, so I'm probably going to have to wait until I get home to do those. And please excuse any editing flubs in this video. I am doing my best with mobile software. But the first topic that I want to bring up, because this video is probably one of my first to hit 1,000, and it's one of the ones that maybe people bring up the most in the comments of other videos, but they always ask me things about based on my opinion of collaboration units aging poorly. And that is definitely something that I think the game has trouble with, and even up to this point, especially for global, that problem has not been solved. And I'm not sure that it has been solved or will be solved necessarily on JP, but the Pixel Remaster collaboration, bringing back, basically updating every numbered Final Fantasy collaboration into the 140 era. No love for tactics, no love for 14 specifically, which needs it more than most, but I think no one's expecting that to get good regardless. But does this fix the problem? No, not necessarily, in that the problem, for all the reasons I explained it, still exists. The thing is, this is a perfect demonstration of something I talked about in that video in a way to solve it. Just, think of an excuse, Pixel Remaster, and then just release a bunch of them at the same time that basically kind of have a yearly event like this that, for whatever reason, updates all the collaborations that you haven't gotten around to doing for some other reason. I don't think this is the way that all collaboration updates should be handled. I definitely think there's good reasons to come back and pick up old villains and stuff like that, and revisit and re-hype and re-excitement, but I do think that this is definitely a solution to all of those collectors out there who are building their favorite Final Fantasy characters and want them to remain good. With that being said, I think that Noctis got quite a bit of respect. Seeing a lot of the things that were added to his master ability and to his second awakening, I think that, or to his reincarnation, I think that he gets a lot of tools that are going to help him offensively around the board, and I think that that's really good because he has multiple damage types, and in addition to that, his LB breaks for multiple damage types as well. The thing that I don't understand about Noctis' 140 is given that his limit break does not have a damage type itself, it is damage typeless, which means that damage type mitigations will not work against it. It's very unique to have on an LB. Maybe not the only one that does that, but it is pretty cool. That being said, whether or not that debuff happens before or after damage literally could not matter less, in that it cannot affect the ability, unless the ability is being changed to like a slashing attack or something that would actually benefit from any of that. But as it stands, I don't think any of it actually does, so maybe this just isn't a big deal. And then moving into current global news, though, we have some really great examples of equipment that I think are really must grab, especially for newer players. So, you know, a good example of this would be Owl's Pocket Watch, especially since everyone is getting Alphons, and this is a piece of equipment that is definitely stacked really well for Alphons. You definitely, every player probably wants to get one of these. I would say that the best build is almost certainly Shield. And the reason that I would say Shield is because Shield lines up really well with the resistances that this piece of equipment gives everyone. And those resistances, I think, are pretty good. Like, piercing is kind of situational, but it's also really helpful whenever you need it. It was previously a good reason to have the Elf's Cloak. I think that this almost replaces the Elf's Cloak in a lot of ways in that respect, because instead of giving you confusion resistance in addition, it gives you slash resistance, which is pretty universal for a lot of people. I think that there is definitely an argument to make 3 of these, especially if you're going to be running Alphons, especially if you're going to be running Edward, and especially if you're a newer player that doesn't necessarily have a spectrum of accessories, because it's pretty easy to get. There's a lot of other things that you're going to want in the metal shop anyway, so blasting runs on this enough to get enough recipes to make 3 of these is not going to hurt you in any way or hold you back. But also it has a shield, barrier, and aim version, so you can get your generic defensive equipment, your generic anti-magic equipment, and the aim version of this actually brings quite a bit of aim. It's not top tier. It is something that will get replaced by your UR gear, but this is a piece of MR equipment, and it's as easy to make as an MR equipment. And there's a really good secondary reason to farm the hell out of this, in that the medals for this event are really helpful in that they buy a lot of cool things in the shop. And once again, everybody's getting Edward. If you are... Actually, let me rearrange my priorities here. I would say that the priority one, as I've said, is the shield. That one is the one that kind of makes the most sense all around. With the passives on it, you want defense plus those passives. And unlike the Moogle Cloak, and unlike all the shit I gave the Moogle Cloak, I think that those 2 passives are really good together and make this a viable piece of equipment on multiple people. I also think that the aim build, especially if you don't have any other aim accessories right now, is really great. The third I would probably recommend is the barrier, and again, if you don't have a good barrier, piece of barrier equipment, but there aren't really a lot of barrier accessories that are really great that exist as is. I think one of the better ones is maybe the Mind Flayer's belt. But this one could certainly work in place of that, so if you don't have that and you don't want to take the time to get it, it's a good time to get a barrier. In terms of Owl's Chalk Case, though, one unit that really stands out for me, one unit that I've built that I look at equipment a little bit differently for, is Kitone. Now, obviously, we have Alphonse, again, giving him hate, giving him the other things that it gives him, makes him into a better version of himself, better version of the unit, especially since he doesn't get hate any other way. This is going to be pretty much required for him, so if you pull him, you definitely want to get this. For him, I think Shield, again, probably makes the most sense. You may actually build Vital as well, especially if, you know, you're already building a Shield Pocket Watch. Maybe it doesn't make sense to get both of them. But you almost certainly want to build up your defense and spirit if you're running this because of the 100% buff resistance. So I would think that you would want this to be shield, and then your TMR, maybe your TMR armor to be a barrier type. So you're getting the most of both of those stats to make the most of the passives, especially off of Alphonse. Once again, Kitone I think is great for this, for the Vital version. It has more HP than most things do, which is pretty great on her. But in addition to that, it has 15% HP as well, which I think is really the thing that makes this another good one to get if you're a newer player, because that's going to benefit so many people. Like, it's just really flexible and versatile. It's kind of like some of the arguments that people were making for the combination of area attack resistance and 5% elemental resistance on Sephiroth. It's just really good across the board. Well, so is this. And for Kitone especially for like a very highly reincarnated Kitone, this is going to be big. Also, I think that HP up in general is being more and more useful with higher reincarnation units that have much, much higher base HP pools than normal. But anyways, other than that, there is an AIM version of this, but it's nowhere near as good as Al's Pocket Watch. I almost certainly wouldn't build it at all. I would just build the AIM version of Al's Pocket Watch first. So again, shield probably makes the most sense. Maybe build Vital as well if you are trying to really stack HP on somebody. It's good for that. Otherwise, it's just a good, decent filler accessory if you need filler, if you're a newer player. But again, prioritize. Once again, I would say that the Edward's Pocket Watch shield, and then maybe you make a shield of the chalk case or a vital of the chalk case, just to give yourself a little bit more variety, and then maybe move over to an AIM pocket watch, and then maybe a vital, so kind of work around with it like that, and I think that that will suit a lot of accounts pretty well. One more thing that I do want to point out, and there is one more thing that I would like to point out before ending this video, and that is that I really like Edward's, I think it's Stone Pillar Transmutation, the one that allows him to hit multiple targets. He is a strike unit, so usually you would imagine that wouldn't give him a pretty amazing range, and the range on this isn't the biggest thing, it's not the biggest deal in the world. However, since it is a multi-unit single target ability, that range can simultaneously extend from in front of him and behind him, so he is a much more difficult unit to surround than other units, which is pretty interesting. It doesn't have to work that way, but it can, and it's one of the only abilities that actually can, with the exception of maybe the Reincarnated Cloud's Mega Slash, which isn't super helpful, but can kind of be used in the same way, even though it's an AoE attack. Anyways, there's not a lot of attacks that allow you to sit yourself in the center of damage, potentially with allies right next to you, and still hit people on both sides of you. That is a really unique ability, and it is one that Edward has. And boy, I mixed these two boys up. They have 2-letter vowel starting names that are short for longer names. It's cool, but it's confusing sometimes, so I do apologize if I switched those two names up all throughout this, as I probably did, but it is what it is. Thank you for listening, and have a good one. I hope to see you bright and early in the next one, or late if you're a night owl, whenever you want to watch the video. Honestly, all up to you. See you in the next one.